Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of June 12th, where, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to the soulmate friend who recommended this cute little mini microphone. I feel like I'm like a lounge singer delivering the astro weather for the week, but it's so cool. I loved the audio quality. So let me know in the comment section down below, how does the audio sound? How's it coming out for you? Really cool little feature though. Man, okay, friends, this week, it's a new moon week, first of all. And let me say, what a week as we're kind of traveling, because the energy doesn't start to really kick up, ramp up, be about our action and things like that until we get to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's because then we're closer to being in the new moon zone. So really from Monday all the way till Thursday, and I would even say until mid-afternoon on Friday, the energy is one of closing and of finishing and of, okay, we've got a lot of things on the table, or maybe you just have a couple things that are on the table and you're needing to deal with the details of those things, or you're needing to kind of emotionally reground around those things. And some of the things I think very practically is, do you have a project that's going or something that you wanted to start and now you need to have some conversation, you need to set up an appointment, you need to send that in the mail, what are the little details of things that are going on? Because that's really where the beginning portion of the week is going to be working out for us. And along those lines, it's heavily based in what the moon is doing, so in lunar energy. And when we're dealing with lunar energy, we're dealing with how you're navigating, your emotional maturity in what you're dealing with on a daily routine, and also your emotional needs. So, fair warning, the beginning part of the week, take it easy, finish what you need to finish, bring some things to a close. We are in more of the balsamic phase. We came through the last quarter energy. We were experiencing that, remember last week, where my question for you, and if you're not following me on Instagram, I would love for you to follow me there, because I give daily updates. I mean, every single day there is a transit report that's coming up for you. So I don't want you to miss it. And I also give you little cues and ideas of how to think about that and interact with it for the day. But as we were coming out of that last quarter energy, we were looking at what am I really turning away from? And now this week we're letting it kind of go to ground. We come into our little hermit huts and we get ready for the new moon energy, which is still low and slow and dark. And you plant cucumbers with your seeds of intention and you hope they grow into cucumbers, right? But that is the space this weekend where we're welcoming in the newness of possibilities, but just not really too much before that, okay? All right, before we officially jump into the horoscopes for this week, a couple things. First of all, in the community tab on this page, I put a question about making this channel ad-free and what you think about that. So head over to the community tab. If you don't know how to do that, go to the homepage of this channel and just slide over to the left, swipe left, and click the tab that says community, and there's a little poll that's waiting there for you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what your response is to that, because I'm changing a couple things about the model on this side on my end. So I'd like to see how we want to engage going forward. Now, the other thing to remember is that I am coming to England. I'm very, very excited. I will be there to teach with the Astrological Association in October. So please find the link in the description box down below. You can come. It's an in-person or an online virtual summit, conference. So we'd just love to have you. And there are some early bird discounts that are still going to be available for you until we get to June 15th. So really excited about seeing our friends who are on the other side of the pond, which is really not the other side of the pond anymore, since Spain is just next door, right? Okay, beautiful friends, let's get in here and jump into what the week has to offer. Now, first of all, Monday, remember that in the afternoon time, late morning on Sunday, we saw the moon move into the energy of Aries. So we are starting this week with a little chutzpah, a little punch going to it. We're starting with that Aries energy. So there is some emotional fire, some emotional initiation kind of energy that is up on the table. So truly, as you're coming into Monday, think to yourself, what do I need to start, or where do I need to get moving on something? Because starting doesn't have to always be something fresh, right? Do I need to just go ahead and, whether I want to, feel like it, don't want to, put my feet in action to do the dishes, to do the laundry, to make that phone call that I've been avoiding, whatever. This moon in Aries energy gives us a little emotional spark of fire to get something done. Now, I never want to forget that Aries is also known in Roman astrology, or Roman mythology, as the sacred sacred gardener. So it's also the energy asking you, where do you need to, where do you need to tend to and nurture something that you are trying to grow, something that's maybe already there, or where do you need to, just make sure that the soil is actually tilled and ready for the fresh beginnings that are going to be coming at the end of the week. So Monday is a relatively laid back day of being able to say, okay, I've got some things that I need to get done. Now, when we get into the afternoon on Tuesday, we'll see the moon enter into void, of course. Now, this is again still a finish what you have on your table kind of energy, but it is also an energy to rest. Now, this is a particularly short void, of course. We only have it for just about an hour and a half. So this is a nice little hour and a half where I would share with you that, okay, so take a deep breath, finish what you need to do, but also for an hour and a half in the afternoon on Tuesday, just give yourself a break for a second. Now, just after that, the moon is going to move into the energy of Taurus. Now, the moon in Taurus, first of all, very much so enjoys being here. I mean, who doesn't like coming to the Taurus house, right? So the moon will start traveling through the energy of Taurus, and this is about our creature comforts. It's about emotional maturity, and it's about being emotionally solid with the routines that we have in our lives, the things that are enduring, right? You're going to, all of us, me too, right? We're going to fall back to our behaviors and our routines. So we really need to be mindful of making sure that we have behaviors and routines in place that are going to be serving us to the best of our ability. That we're eating well, we're moving well, we're taking care of the four main parts of the human being. You know what I mean? So this is something I would ask you to consider this day, and celebrate. Also, if you're like, you know what, Stormie, this has just really come along for me, celebrate where your routines and your behaviors are actually delivering you something that you feel is just solid and delicious and really planted in you in a way that is growing a harvest for you that feels delicious and supportive for what you're doing. Okay, so enjoy that Taurus energy. And also, I'm a Taurus, have a little snacky poo if you can, get something to eat that you like, make it a great day and a half to take that luxurious shower that is not about washing and cleansing the body. It's about having the experience of the soap and the smells and what does it actually feel like when water touches your skin. Can you take a minute to feel it absorb into your pores, right? Have that kind of delicious Taurus experience. Wednesday, relatively quiet day. Now, when we get to Thursday, we've got our first big aspect that I think is of note. Now, we've got Mercury squaring against Saturn, and Saturn is going to step into its retrograde this week. So Saturn is a little bit like, please stop talking to me, I'm trying to pack for my trip. It's that. But Mercury coming to this interaction with Saturn, even though it's squaring it, it is bringing new information before Saturn goes on this retrograde trip. Okay, so as these two are coming together, one of the things I would ask you to think about is, is there a space? Do you have like all of the options? Right? There's too many options. You've got a lot of information that's going on. Mercury squaring Saturn, Mercury is sifting this out, right? Mercury is like, oh, I'm having the conversation. I'm getting the details sorted. My flight or my gate that I'm going on, or this plan that I want to do, or something that I want to actualize. Mercury is actually bringing the energy to you and the information, and it's usually new information that you need to make decisions. But because this is a square and it's asking us to do something, you may also have to seek out the information. You have to go to it. Or you may find that you thought you had everything together, you were prepared to live your best life, and new information that's been there the whole time is presented to you and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. So what I would tell you is, Thursday, if you've got something big going on, if you've got something that you're planning, start asking some questions around it. Start looking around, because there may be some limitations or some other options, possibilities, or hindrances that are actually in the way that you had no idea. Like you didn't see them. You were like, they're just not there, right? Now, I did want to speak on this for just a second too. If you have Mercury square Saturn in your natal chart, regardless of if it's exact with the transit, that is happening right now in the sky. If you have this aspect in your chart, one of the things that potentially you have had experience with is how negative This can be where it's like it never works out. This can tend towards pessimism. I don't always see that in transit, but I did want to address it in a natal aspect, right? And one of the things I can tell you to work with this aspect in your chart is, first of all, to talk. You've got to talk. You've got to take the risk to say the thing, to ask the question, to find the information. Because if you do that, it kind of breaks this space where you feel like you can't say anything because you'll be rejected, or there's an authority figure that is going to go against you, or you should just be quiet and be limited, right? So if that's your experience with that particular placement in your chart, I'm going to really encourage you, to talk, to speak, to ask a lot of questions. It really goes contrary to the way that aspect, typically works, but it will be in your benefit, okay? Now, later in the day, late evening, so I'd say about 7 p.m., okay, depending on where you are in the world, we're going to see the moon step back into a void of course. So rest. You probably gathered a lot of information. People brought you information. You learned something new. And, depending on where Mercury's at in your particular natal chart, you may have had dreams that brought you information. You may have had symbols from guidance that is trying to bring you information. Wherever it's happening for you, information has been brought to your attention. So now, under this moon that is void of course, rest, be with it, finish some things, incorporate those details of information that have come to you in order to keep your plan moving forward, okay? And just after that, the moon's going to move into the energy of Gemini. So now the moon speeds up. It's a little bit more busy. Now we're having a new conversation, a new plan maybe is available for you. There's new ideas. The communication on what you're doing becomes a bit clearer. Now it may also become varied. This can honestly make you feel like you're having a bit of an emotional stirring, right? There's multiple things functioning at the same time. So one of the things I would tell you is don't fight against it. The moon comes to Gemini every month, and we want to go with it. Don't fight against it. Understand the current or the situation that is coming in and work with it. This would be great if you needed to make changes on the computer. Gemini is phenomenal at technology, whereas before, in the beginning of the week, you're like, I just can't even, right? And plus you didn't have the information. Now you have the information. You're like, oh, I can go online, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but I do have the energy or the emotional capacity now to use this Gemini vibration to help me do multiple things. Look at all these pages, look at all these details, and get the changes done that need to happen. To sit online and wait for the chat virtual agent or whatever that looks like for you. Now, the last thing that I want to say about that is, as we're traveling through this Thursday, Friday, moon and Gemini vibration, you have the emotional capacity to make a decision. So if something's been a little bit on the fence for you, whatever that's looked like for you, you have the emotional capacity to make a decision, okay? All right, so we'll experience that energy all the way through Friday as well. Now, when we roll into Saturday, we are going to get going. So emotional seatbelt strapped. Let's go. We've got some aspects to work with. First and foremost, that same Mercury who is bringing information to Saturn, who is trying to go on vacation, is going to be in a sextile with Venus. So this is absolutely beautiful. Now, Venus is not into pre-retrograde shadow time yet, although she will go into it as soon as we step into next week. So not yet. So you've got two planets that are in full force, full function right now, and they're in a sextile, which means that there's a pocket of opportunity available to you here, and you intelligently take action on using it. So there is an ease, there is a harmony available to you taking actions that you need to take at this time. Now, really, you can back up in your chart as well, my friends, to May 12th. We saw this aspect, right, where Mercury and Venus were talking to each other. So what was going on? What were was there love? Was there, did you feel like you didn't value something anymore, and you're like, I'm okay with letting this go, or I'm okay with letting this be different now? What was happening there? Because these two dancing and having a conversation together are providing an opportunity to not only release, but feel comfortable making a decision about what you really value at this time. What is really your expression? What is really Venus and Leo, your heart? What is a priority? Remember, Leo is ruled by the sun, okay? The sun is traveling through the energy of Gemini, ruled by Mercury. So we see the conversation come full circle. You have the capacity to say, this is important to me and I'm willing to make this decision. Now, Mercury is still commerce and trade. Venus likes money as well, and Leo does like some shopping. So I think it's a great day to find a deal. If you wanted to find a deal, I don't know that I would recommend making a huge purchase at this particular time if you don't have to. It's still going to be better than, I think, making a huge purchase during Venus retrograde. But, let's say that there's like a vintage whatever or an antique whatever, or there is something specific that you need. Somebody may be putting it up for sale or being willing to haggle a little bit more about it on this particular day. And for some reason, I'm getting that somebody's getting a refund. So it's a pretty significant size refund. So let me know in the comment section if that's you this week. Okay, just behind that, Saturn is now stepping into its retrograde. Okay, so remember, Saturn moved into the energy of Pisces in March. And so now the retrograde is going to go from 7 degrees of Pisces to 0 degrees of Pisces. So really, what is on review for you right now is backing up to March of 2023 and seeing what progress have you made in this 7 degrees. Okay, where have you had to review your obligations, your level of discipline, responsibility is the word we're looking there, emotional maturity, because remember, Saturn is our planet that wants to level us up. It wants to take us to the next level, but it's not a shallow climbing of the ladder, okay? It is there's expertise, there's knowledge here, there's wisdom, and you get to author your own story, but you have to go back and look where you have to grow, where you have to mature, where you have to step into your glory in order to actualize something. In the energy of Pisces, it's really been about, you have to stop talking about it and be about it. So from March until right now, where have you seen that you'd been talking about something for a very long time, and now you see how to put a container around that vision, around what you'd like to call in, around your ideals? Because as Saturn goes retrograde, you've done some work, or it's at least been presented to you where the work needs to be done since March. And during this retrograde, you have the chance to do this review. Okay, now we're going to work, keep in mind, Saturn goes retrograde every year. So it's your time to do the work. And this time it'll be all the way until November 4th. The other thing that I think is important to remember when Saturn goes retrograde is it's a transpersonal planet. So it also means that the societies and the community around you, like outside of just your house, is also changing. So that means that some ideas and concepts and conceptions that maybe you had before that you were talking about and couldn't quite be about, the world is ready for you now. So now there's a clearer way to see how to fit yourself in it, but you are going to have to tighten up, right? You got to tighten up and fly right in order to have the discipline in place to actualize getting your message out there, getting this thing off the ground, whatever that happens to be for you, okay? Now, when we get late evening, early morning, depending on where you are in the world, we're going to experience this new moon happening at 26 degrees of Gemini. And I love this, okay? So first of all, the new moon is calling us in our 28-day cycle to plant your seeds of intention. Let's begin something new here. But what kind of beginning are we looking to go for? Well, very Gemini. First of all, new networks. Plant your seeds around new networks. Who can I join as a network? What networks can join me that will bring me new and valuable information? And remember, it's Gemini energy. So it's not necessarily the most deep information you've ever experienced in your whole life, but it is new information ruled by Mercury. It's clear, concise information that you can do something with, new knowledge that comes to your table. I also believe, very much so, that Mercury is also the knowledge of your intuition and your inner voice. Now, sometimes that can be the inner critic. Maybe your inner critic is rising up because you're afraid of something, or maybe it's your inner warrior is rising up and you're ready to do something, right? Sometimes I think about our clairs here, right? Clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. Where is the inner voice within you lighting up in a Mercury and a Gemini channel? And it is bringing this new knowledge. But the thing about it is that at this new moon, I would ask you to consider is that when you're planting your seeds of intention over this next 2 weeks, to plant your seeds and then don't stand there and stare at them to see if they grow. Like, move on, go network, go be, go be out in the world, learn a new skill, see where you need to know something, have a conversation, make the phone call, whatever it is. Use your clear, concise communication to do what you need to do, but also practice putting your head right where your hands are. Be very, very, very present. Put your head where your hands are. Be here. Be in the now. Gemini energy is a double energy. It's an air energy. It wants to go in multiple directions, and that's fine. Don't fight against it, but be present to each thing that is happening. And that can sound very, it can sound like it doesn't make sense, but it does. This is where you get to actualize the Gemini portion of your chart and learn to honestly be, hear, see, and feel in two places at once, being perfectly present. This is a real skill. Unless you have a lot of Mercury or a lot of Gemini placement in your chart, you're like, what? This sounds absolutely crazy. It's not. The other way I like to invite you to visualize this is the conversation of the head and the heart being in the same place, right? They're both doing two different things typically, but in Gemini energy, we somehow learn to get them both to work in a very cyclical fashion, and they're informing each other or in conversation with another person, right? We want this energy to be cyclical, from me to you, from me to you, from me to you. So this is the two places at once energy. It can also, to the negative side or to the frustrating side, let me say that, of course, go in multiple directions where you feel like you are running all over the place. There is so much going on. You can just feel like a crazy paisy, right? So that is an expression that can happen, okay? But over this next 2 weeks, try and be as present to the duality as you can. Now, as we come into Sunday, later Sunday, after the new moon energy, the moon will go void, of course. Okay, so you have some time to rest and to be with the newness of what you've planted. And I think about this, it's very exciting when you plant a garden. Don't you really want to go out there, or you plant the little, I remember doing it with my kids where we put the stick in the potato and put it in the water, and then they'd go look every day to see if it sprouted. There is a newness. There's an excitement about it. What am I going to see? What's going to present itself today? So under the void, of course, I would say be excited. Be excited about where you've asked for help, where you've asked for clarity, where you've asked for guidance, and what you have planted. Now, as we get through that, we're going to see the moon move into the energy of Cancer, getting us ready for the next week. But as the moon moves into the Cancer, nurture yourself. Okay, it's Sunday. Eat, be with the family, be in your own space, do what you need to feel loved and secure and comforted and supported. But also, where do you need to emotionally also be cardinal? Start something. Where do you need to start new emotional security, or tap into it, or continue it, or have a practice that gets you set up for success for your week? Now, before we leave Sunday, we are going to see the sun later in the day in a square to Neptune. And this is really interesting because, first of all, in general, Sun squaring Neptune, okay, the energy tends to kind of lower, where you're like, oh, I am feeling good, so excited about my potato growing in the kitchen, it's sprouting its roots, but also I'm kind of tired now. I don't know what happened. Now, that can be one expression of it, but the other expression I would invite you to is, I don't have to fight so much. I don't know exactly. My vision is not perfectly clear. I don't know exactly how it's going to come out, but I trust and believe that the universe has absolutely got my back. I trust and believe that what is what is supposed to be, and I know that because it is what is, so I can put my sword down and I don't need to fight so much right now. That is the energy of Sun square Neptune, because the square wants us to do something. Right? And what I would tell you that the best doing is here is, one, to accept, to pause, to believe, to wait for revelation. More will be revealed, and then you will feel clearer on how to step forward. You will have also given the universe some space to work and reveal itself in your life. My spiritual teacher always tells me, and I get to remember this and share it with you guys, is that at that new moon, you took a step forward, right? You plant your seeds of intention. You ask for the knowledge. You ask for the skill. You ask for the network. When you take a step towards the universe, then the universe comes running. So prepare yourself, and prepare yourself on this day, even moving through Monday, to not know the how, but know that you asked and the response is coming. So trust the universe and the cosmos to work on your behalf. It's all a cosmic conspiracy to have your life helping you with these lessons and moving in the direction of your greatest good, okay? All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, I hope you have a gorgeous week. Please let me know how it's going down below. Remember that the Astrology Busy book is still available for you if you need some help settling some of that Gemini busy energy that is definitely available on the table. It's this wonderful little word search book I created. You can also access it in the description box down below. I love you all an absolute ton, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone.